If you've ever tried to build your first backpacking kit, you know how overwhelming it can be. There's ultralight, budget gear, cottage companies, lightweight, all these types of different kinds of categories, and everyone's telling you which one is best and which one you should be doing, which one you should be going for. So how do you know what actually matters when choosing your gear for your backpacking kit? That's what we're breaking down today, so you can stop overthinking, stop wasting your money, and get out there on the trail, which is what this is all about. Hi, I'm Luke, and welcome to the channel where I help beginner backpackers feel safe and comfortable on the trail. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I post gear reviews, guides, trail tested tips, all of my experience of 15 years of backpacking kind of coming into the channel here. And I do all of that trail testing and giving that experience for you so you can get out on the trail safely and comfortably and have a good time and really enjoy your time out on the trail. Now let's get into it. Problem number one is that there are just actually too many choices. When you first start shopping for backpacking gear, it really feels like you're like drinking from a fire hose and you have all of these different things coming at you. Every tent claims to be the best one and every backpack claims to be the lightest one. And your budget starts looking kind of smaller and smaller as you're looking at all of these things that all say ultralight in them. And even when you can't imagine them actually being ultralight, they all somehow for some reason say that they're ultralight. And here's the truth is that you don't actually need to buy perfect gear. You just need to buy the right gear for you. And that's a really big difference, and that's what I'm here for today. And that starts when you start focusing on a few key factors. So you just need to know your priorities. First, figure out what are your non-negotiables, the things that you will not budge on when you're looking at backpacking gear. Ask yourself a couple of questions here. First, do I care more about the comfort of what I'm wearing or the weight? Next is, do I want something that's ultra lightweight or very, very durable? And third, am I trying to save money or am I trying to save ounces? This all makes sense a little bit more as we get on through the video, but those are three big questions you need to be asking yourself every time when you're looking at non-negotiables and at your backpacking gear as a whole. Once you know what matters most to you, everything else, all the other decisions for all of your gear just kind of starts to come more naturally and a little bit easier. And when they're all sort of slotted into these criteria, it makes it a lot simpler to choose what gear is right for you. For example, if you know you're only going to be out on the trail for a couple of weekends a year, you probably don't need like a $600 Dyneema tent. Now, if you want to go for that and splurge on that, then absolutely go for it, but you don't probably necessarily need it. However, if you're going to be out on the trail constantly, you're going to be doing through hikes and all of those different types of things, then it might be worth it for you to splurge a little bit, get the $600 ultralight Dyneema tent and actually save that weight and those, have that weight saving in your pack. Next, you want to look at the quality and the durability of the gear that you're looking at. So a lot of times I'm just going to be using the example of the big three, which is your tent, your backpack, and your sleep system. And you've probably, in your kind of exploring through all these products, seen something that's like, it looks like the two exact same items, but one's like $50 and one's like $300, and you don't even understand what the difference is because they look the exact same to you. And I'm here to tell you that the difference is mostly in the material that's used and the quality of the product, so how well it was put together and constructed. Higher end gear does often use like material and fabrics that are higher end, like Dyneema or Sil nylon, or there's like certain types of like kind of high end nylons that don't kind of stretch and flex too much. So the higher end products are going to be using better material and fabric for their products instead of like the lower end nylon and things like that. Basically what makes these materials different is that they're lighter and more durable so that they create better products. And a lot of times also when they're coming from companies that are willing to put more money into the material that they're making the product with, they also have a higher craftsmanship quality to them. So you're not going to see as much loose stitching or loose fabric or thread on all the products, that they're going to be just put together better. However, I will say this is, don't assume that an expensive product automatically means that it's a good product. Make sure you're reading product reviews, make sure you're looking at the companies and seeing if they're actually reviewed really well on places like Amazon or their own websites or things like that. So do your research and always look into a product and a company before you start buying them. Just because they make it expensive doesn't mean it's good. So be careful of that. Next, you want to look at weight versus ease of use. So much of the time when you are looking at a product that is much lighter than its counterpart, because they're using different kind of material, they're using lighter weight material that does have resiliency to it, like Dyneema, but what you're also trading there is kind of easy use a lot of times. Now this isn't always true. Some ultralight gear is just as easy or even easier to use than gear that's more budget or lightweight or things like that. But a lot of times with ultralight gear, you kind of trade some functionality and ease of use for the lightweightness of it. So you can be trading 10 ounces, but it makes the tent more difficult to set up. Or the backpack doesn't have as many features to it, but you have shaved off a pound of the backpack, that kind of thing. So just understand what you want. Do you want really lightweight, but maybe a little bit more difficult to use? Or do you want something that maybe has 10 more ounces on it or a pound more on it, but the ease of use is a lot simpler. When looking at this kind of gear and this comparison, just ask yourself 2 questions. First off is, how easy is it to set up or use? And the next one is one that I think is a really good question to always ask yourself is, when I am cold, wet, hungry, tired, and in the dark, am I going to want to use this thing? So if it's a ultralight tent versus like a kind of a standard weight or lightweight tent, ask yourself, do I want to set up this tent in the dark when I'm cold, wet, and hungry and tired, or do I want to set up the other tent? And if I want to set up the other tent, is it worth shaving off a pound of that tent to make it more difficult for me to set it up, but I save a pound? So just ask yourself those 2 questions, and I think it really helps you kind of narrow down the gear you want to be using in your backpacking kit. Next, remember that fit and comfort really do matter. So there are a couple pieces of gear that you really need to prioritize fit over budget, or fit over and comfort over some other kinds of these things that we consider. So those 2 pieces of gear basically are your backpack and your shoes. You really want to make sure that both of those fit really well, even if they cost more to do so. Just remember that gear has to work with you and for you, not against you. And that's especially true with backpacks and shoes, your footwear. So you can buy a $500 backpack or whatever, but if it doesn't actually work for you very well, doesn't fit you very well, it's not worth it for a $500 backpack. You would have been better off carrying a $50 backpack that fits you well. And the same thing, and maybe even more so, is the case with shoes. So are the shoes comfortable for you to wear for 15, 20 miles at a time? Especially if you're doing a through hike, are they comfortable for you to be wearing for months at a time, for miles and miles at a time? If they are not, you need to get a different pair of shoes. So your shoes are something you do not want to kind of skimp on and do a budget version when they don't work for you. If they work for you, that's awesome, but you need to definitely make sure that you are prioritizing foot care over budget on this one, because trust me when I say this, you do not want to be wearing shoes that do not work for you. Out on the AT, I did see a guy, he wore shoes that were too small for him. He took off his shoes and all of his toes were completely black because he had been running into the front of his shoes all day, doing downhill trekking the entire day, and he had bruised his toes completely because he was wearing shoes that weren't right for him. So you don't want to be that guy. He was in a ton of pain. Don't be that guy. Wear shoes that are right for you, please. If all of this is feeling like a lot to you and you're still feeling like you're kind of drinking from a fire hose, I do hope it's been helpful for you, but one of the tips here is just simplify your choices. So start with the big 3, start with your backpack, start with your tent, and start with your sleeping gear, and sort of go with that first. Figure out what you want for those big 3, and then start moving through your other categories. Then look at your cook kit, then look at your water filter, then look at your footwear, that sort of thing. So just start with the big 3, work through those, and then start working through all your gear kind of in sequence from most important to least important. And by the time you get to your first aid kit, you're not worrying too much about your weight because you've already figured out the big stuff, and also you've just gotten really good at figuring out the big ones, and so the small ones just feel like easy choices. You can make them really quickly. So if you're getting overwhelmed, just start with the big 3 and then move from there. A big thing here is that you will actually learn so much more by actually doing it. Just start making those choices, and you'll make better choices through that than through kind of research paralysis, which is when you just definitely get stuck trying to read into everything and you never make a decision because you feel like you never know enough. One of the best ways to gain experience is to gain experience, right? So just start making those choices, start looking at gear, start making choices, and it'll all start flowing for you. So if you've been overwhelmed trying to choose your gear, take a breath, focus on your priorities, invest in quality where it matters, and let experience guide the rest, and just sort of flow from there. If this really helped you, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, turn on alerts, all that kind of stuff. Check out my links in the description down below for gear that I love and trust, and for coaching and blogs and all those other things on my website. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.